Alright guys, I got the transmission on the stand, flipped it over and it started bleeding out of the dipstick hole there, but I'm happy to see that the fluid is red. It's a good sign always. This was pulled out of an 85 Chevy truck in working condition. I'm going to replace all the exterior seals. I'm going to put a new gear on the governor. I'll show you that. It's all chewed up. Put a new gear on that. I probably got to get a new one of these things. As you can see, it's been damaged probably when it was removed. But I'm not going to get into this today. Today's project is cleaning the frame. I'm not going to get too carried away. I'm just going to get all the loose stuff in the dirt off so the paint will have something to stick to. Alright, I got the passenger side brake line off that runs along there. Amazingly well preserved. I mean, it was covered in grease, that's probably why. But look at that, man. It's probably original too, because it has this springy stuff, the heat shield kind of thing. I think that's what they were from the factory. Brake lines are just one of those things I always replace. Check out what just came. Rear seal cover for the engine. Okay, I got the filter for the transmission. I got the governor gear and the hardware for that. I got the spacer that makes it all possible to mount an older style transmission to a LS. And I got my oil pressure gauge fitting that goes on the screws into the back of the block to replace the electronic one. See, this simply slips onto here and extends this so it can go into the crank. This is a press fit in there. You just whack it with the rubber mallet and it goes into there. Pretty simple. Got a flex plate coming, some flex plate bolts as well. Well, I got where I could with the wire wheel. You can see I got this all cleaned up in here, a little bit in the frame where I could reach, but all these little nooks and crannies I'm gonna have to do with a screwdriver and a wire brush. So I left the brake lines to the rear end because I actually replaced some of it a couple of years ago, and this looks perfect. So well, the frame's all cleaned up and ready for paint. I didn't get too carried away, but I got it pretty good. It already looks good because I already painted it a couple of years ago, but I didn't get under here. Alright, firewall is all masked off. I even masked off the red bushings because I like the look of that red. And then I got my two engine plates right there. Throw some paint on them, and then my transmission mount hanging up here. And of course I'll be using my best friend, Rust-Oleum. Check it out, frame's all painted, my brackets are painted, my transmission mount here is all painted up nice. Try to get all the little nooks and crannies. Pretty good for rattle can. It's all you need. It's all you need on a frame. I gotta get cleaning on this transmission so I can work on it. I did some digging and I only came up with this small piece of 3/16 line, so I must have used it all a couple months back when I did the rear brake lines on a Ford van. So I'm gonna have to run down and get some of that. But you can see the frame looks really good. It's all dry, nice and shiny for now. Everything's all painted up nice. I'm digging it. Mounts looking good, and the transmission cross member looking good as well. I got plenty of tube nuts though, and the original weird T junction block thingy is in good shape, so I'll reuse this. It is just a beautiful day, nearly 60 degrees. This is just unheard of this time of year. It's awesome. Taking full advantage of it. And an update on the exhaust. It's still holding up good after a couple hundred miles, even with no flex pipe on it. Alright, got to roll a brake line. Should last me a while. You're probably wondering, how is he getting so much done on this? Well, I have some time off right now, and I'm making the most of it. That's why I'm trying to get so much done right now. I've lost track of how many times in the past I've forgotten to put the tube nut on. It's like you get a really good flare, and then you look and you forgot to put this guy on there. If you buy one of these cheap Chinese flare tool kits, this is what you get. 2 broken clamps that didn't last very long because the pin is very light duty metal, and then you gotta end up rigging it up like this, and then you get a perfect flare like so. It shouldn't be raised up anywhere. It should just be completely, the nut should be seated completely flat on there. Ask me how I know. Done it wrong many times and had leaking joints where I put a flare on. So I always make sure it's completely flat. I love dealing with 3/16 line because you can bend it with your hands if you're careful. You don't need to use this little guy here. But if you're doing the bigger stuff like that, which is like for the rear brakes and stuff, then you gotta use this. But that's a nice thing about this thin line here, is if you're careful and don't kink it, it's about as far as you want to go. You can see here I got the front brake line going along with the rear brake line, just kind of following its path. I actually replaced this one a couple of years ago, like I said earlier. I'll leave that alone. So I just kind of followed that one, and I got to mark where I'm going to cut it. That junction should be right here, that tee off thing, and one will go this way on the top side of where the engine mount is, on this side of it, and then under the frame rail and right into the brake hose there. Alright, my first piece of the brake line's all done. I got my little junction thingy on there. I'm going to get that on there, and then I can work on the 2 other pieces of the line. Okay, I got that on. I just put some duct tape on there to hold the 2 lines together for now until I find something prettier to use. See, it runs around there nicely. Nice room clearance from the moving suspension parts is right between there, so we're good. Alright, brake line number 2. Let's run right along with the old one. See the clips? I got it coming along here, right there. Got one more to do, which comes off of there to this side. The last brake line is completed. Let's install it, shall we? Hey guys, just out here at the dam. Check out this big net thing that's holding back all this debris so it doesn't go in the dam. Pretty cool. In May I'll be going to Mount Rushmore and Yellowstone Park. Definitely bring the camera along. Get some cool videos out of that, so something to look forward to. Alright, back to the truck. Okay guys, brake lines are done. Stupid camera strap thing here, that's what you see sometimes, hangs down. See, each side is about the same. I'm digging it. Looks real good. So now I'm going to work on the engine, replace that rear seal cover.